So today, guys, we are going to study and learn something new, and then you can just, as you can see, the topic and the title of the story, Almighty is an universe. So let me tell you what is the meaning of the title. Almighty means very powerful, very powerful, like God, right? And is universal. Universe and universal means something is connected to the whole world. So let's come to the story. And there is written once upon a time. Nowadays they do not use, means in the modern English we do not use once upon a time. We can just use only once. So it is the full meaning once. So once there was a farmer. As we all know, farmer, who is the farmer? Farmer who produce the grains, food grains, all kind of grains, and with that we can just have that kind of a grains, and they plug the fields and they produce the grains and they just sell their grains, and by selling their grains they get their livelihood. And from their food, from their grains, we just make delicious dishes in our homes, and we fed ourselves and our family and other people. So a farmer who they plug the field and they produce the grains. So named. So let's read once again. Once upon a time there was a farmer named Badri. So whose name was Badri. So he used to tell bedtime stories. What is the bedtime stories? Actually, bedtime stories is nothing more than the story which our grandparents or otherwise our parents, our elders used to tell us some stories, or their youngest to tell them the stories to make them feel comfortable in the time of the night, and they try to make them sleep properly. So that is called the bedtime story. So he used to also tell the bedtime story to his son. He had a son who Badri. And Badri, who was the Badri? Badri was a farmer. So now his son, and his son name was Radhe. One fine night, he told his son in the story. He told his son in the story never to forget something that you can just forget. And so he just told to his son that never forget God. You do not forget the God who is present everywhere. Now you can see the present everywhere. With this point, I feel like telling you some other meaning which is related to this point, present everywhere. There is a one word substitution that we use for God. So here I am just telling you, that is called omnipresent, right? Omnipresent means a person who is present everywhere, as you can see, right? Omnipresent. And the next meaning is omnipotent. Omnipotent means almighty, right? Otherwise we can say in our in other easy words, it is an easy sentence, that is a person who has the ability to do anything or everything, that is called omnipotent. So omnipotent, who is omnipotent? Only God. So we use particularly this word for the God. And one more word that is used, one word substitution and only used for the God, that is omniscient. What is the meaning of omniscient? Omniscient means knowing everything. Knowing everything. So who knows everything? Only God. So these three words is particularly used for the God. So here I just felt like to tell you these kind of points. So I just told you omnipresent means present everywhere, omniscient means knowing or having the knowledge of everything, or omnipotent means having the ability to do anything or more powerful, right? Go further. So God who is present everywhere, I'm sorry, and everywhere. Badri was telling a story, and one day he told to his son a story that never to forget God who is present everywhere and notices all that we do, notices all that we do, anything that we do, any kind of activity that we do. Who notices it? God. So Radhe was quite surprised listening to his father's, and Radhe looked around. Radhe actually just looked to his around in his room, and on the bed he was just going to sleep, and that time his father was just telling him a bedtime story. In that story his father told him not to forget to God, because God is everywhere and notices all that we do. So to his surprise he just started looking around and asked, to curiously he asked to his father, where is God? It is obvious, and it is obvious an innocent question from a baby, from a boy, that if sometimes if he gets to know about single thing which is means very first time, so definitely it is obvious that he will ask you the same thing with honesty. You can say the dumb question, but there is a honesty hidden in that question. Where is God? It was a quite good question. So I cannot see him anywhere. His son said to his father that, where is God, father? I cannot see him anywhere. So now at this, Badri answered. What he answered? We cannot see God. We cannot see God, but he keeps a close watch on us. He said quite right that we cannot see the God, but God can see us, and he not only he sees us, he has a he keeps a close watch on us and our activities, any kind of activities that we do in our life, good, bad, or big or small mistakes, or somebody is helping us or we are helping to somebody, everything he watches us very closely. So after few months, after this thing happened, and then after a few months, there was a situation that kind of a condition must we must have every time, not every time, but we also go through with the situations sometimes. And what kind of a situation of that? Famine. So what is the meaning of the famine? Famine means there is nothing to have, nothing to eat, and the people gets so weak, and they are on the verge of the death. So that is called famine. It happens in the village, most of the India's villages it happened. I cannot tell you the exact date, but in the past many time it happened in India, and there was a very severe famine happened in Indian villages. So what happened? The people got died very brutally and badly. So now famine means there was nothing to eat, and that kind of situation happened in that village also. So now let's read some more stories, means further. So now Badri had no crop. Crop means grains, every type of grains, that is called crop. Yield, produce. Yield means to produce or provide. Okay, so in the field. So Badri had no crop, no grain produced in the field, because he was a farmer in that year. So he was in a condition to starve. Starve, there is a condition that there is no food to eat, and the people get so weak and they are on the verge of death. If they don't get any kind of food, they will definitely die. So this is the condition called starve, and starvation is the form of the starve. So there was a condition, starvation, the people get the severe starvation they had. So he thought to steal. What he thought? To steal. Steal means to take something without anybody's permission. So he thought that he will steal something, some crops from the other fields, and crops from right another farmer's field. So at night, what happened at night? He went to another farmer's field with his son. He also took his son along, and he went to get the crops from others' field so that he can get some food. So the starvation situation will be removed. So he asked Radhe, what he asked Radhe? To keep an eye and warn. To warn means so warn means to make somebody realize the dangerous situation in the future. Okay, especially for the future. So keep an eye and warn. What warn? If anybody was coming there, if anybody was coming there, then just make some noise, so we can just get out of the field. So as Badri started stealing the crop, as Badri just entered in the field and started just cutting out the crops to steal, Radhe suddenly shouted loudly. Okay, a loud voice produced. Shout means a loud voice produced by someone. So he produced a loud voice and shouted, "Wait, father, someone is watching you." So listening to his son, Badri got scared. And now you can just imagine the situation that you are going to steal something and you have someone to keep an eye on others, and you also instructed him to keep an eye. Otherwise, if somebody comes, then you just shout and I will come out and we can just run away. And at the same time, as you started stealing something and that person also just shouted that come out, somebody is coming, so definitely you would get scared. The same situation happened with the Badri also. Badri came out as he just heard the shouting of his son of the field. He just came out of the field at once, suddenly, and looked around. He looked everywhere. So, but he could not see anybody because there was no one. So Badri asked Radhe, "Why did you shout? Why you shouted? And whom did you see?" I said, if you see somebody, then you just warn me. But I cannot see anybody, anybody everywhere. So whom did you see? So at this, his son Radhe said, "Father, you told me that God is everywhere and sees whatever we are doing. Then how can He not see you stealing the grains?" That was the very innocent and very appropriate question the son asked to his father, that you told me before some days that God is everywhere. Do not forget that God is everywhere and He sees us and keeps a close watch on us, on our activities, good or bad. So said Radhe. So Badri was very ashamed. So Badri was very ashamed, and he just kept the grains back and returned home empty-handed. Empty-handed, that means there is nothing, there is containing nothing. So empty-handed, that means he returned back the crops that he just stole, as his son just made him realize that he was doing wrong. So once he told his son that if you just forget God, but do not forget God, because God is everywhere and He sees us doing everything. So now let's talk about the question and answer. What was the first question is, what was the name of the farmer? So it was Badri. And what lesson did Badri give to his son? Do not forget to God. right? Do not forget to God, because God is everywhere. Yeah, we can say omnipresent. The God is omnipresent. God is omnipresent, right? So what did Radhe say to his father at last? Radhe said to his father that God is everywhere. He said same thing. God is everywhere, and if we are just if we are just stealing something, is this not the thing that God is watching us, because he keeps close watch on us. So here you can just write. So now next oral quiz, as it is written, why there were no crops in the field, yield in the fields? Because of the famine. There was a situation that is called famine. So they did not get any crops in their fields. So what is the message given in the story? Actually, the message is that we should never forget to God, and we should never steal something from others, because as we know that God is everywhere and He sees everything, so we should not steal and we should not take anything from others except God. We can just also ask to the God. Definitely, we will get by our place, by our deeds. If we do good things, so definitely we don't have to ask to others one, because God can give you much more than you think. So now next question is, do you think God is everywhere? Yes, I think that God is everywhere. Okay. So now next question is, write 4 good deeds which you do to respect the God's presence. So it is up to you that you have to write 4 good deeds you do to respect to the God's presence. The first one you can say, help others, do good things only, right? Respect your elders, parents and elders. Respect your parents and elders. And the last one, donate as much as you can. Right? So this is the things that I do. If you do any other thing to respect to the God's presence, you can just write over here. Okay, so now this story is on the finish line. So we are finishing this story with the question and answer, and I hope that you liked this story and you got something, you learned something from this story, some meanings also you got. So we will meet in the next episode, in the next video. Till then, but before going, please subscribe our channel for more videos. Thank you.